This is 24 in 42.
Let's rock and roll.
All right. Welcome to 24 and 42. Tonight, we get to meet a special guest because I'm going to say I wouldn't be here doing this right now if this man and his partner hadn't been doing Pitch Black 20 years ago, 21 years ago, I think, when I discovered them. So, we are welcoming Dave Pitchford tonight, and he is going to tell us a little bit about himself, but I know he writes Sword and Sorcery because I've read it, I've even published it, and shoot, I failed to have that book in hand. It is The Return of the Sword that you are in, sir, and poetry, and I've tried to get poetry published by him of my own poetry. But these are the books, and I am going to put these pictures up there properly that led me into the world of slush reading, copy editing, selection editing, and finally saying, maybe I can do this.
Well, it's a labor of love from the get-go. And like any labor of love, it can get taxing and it can burn you out real fast. It took us a lot less time than I thought, but we had a lot of stuff going on, both Dan and me, other than just trying to get a publishing concern off the ground. And there was a whole lot of exciting things going on there. And just the people, from the sfreader.com forums, man, I mean, they were all just, they were terrific. Yes. They were terrific. And I follow those guys. I don't know if they even know who I am anymore, but I've been lurking for the entire time since then. I've got a bunch of you guys on Facebook as friends, and I keep up with it, but the last 12 years I've been working my fingers to the bone here at Toyota, trying to pay off debts from from that. Yep. I'm a year away.
Awesome news.
Yeah, then look out, because then I'm going to put some money together, and if things don't get too squirrely, I will be publishing again, even if it's just my own. But I really love publishing other people as well. I love helping new writers.
There is something to that. Yep, totally agree with you on that. But what do you write? What kind of stuff do you write?
I mostly I just forge prescriptions these days. No, I wish that was true. I would be bundling up some money then.
Yep.
No, I write more than not. I write poetry. Okay. And part of the reason for that is that I have so little in the way of blocks of time. And a poem is a short work that you can draft it like in 5 to 50 minutes and set it aside, come back to it and just work it to death. And that, whereas a novel, you need a good 2 to 5 hour block to really get into the flow of writing and do some good with a novel.
Okay.
You can, when you don't have time to draft, you can edit. You can line edit. 5 minutes at a time.
All right. So this is gonna be interesting. I'd like you, as we go through this, to try and, where appropriate, if there's a diversion in an answer between a short story novelist writer and a poet, go ahead, take them.
Okay.
Follow your instincts.
I have to tell you, I am a failed short story writer. Every time I start a short story, it turns into a novel. And if I start a novel, it turns into a series. It's just, I can't do it. But
well, all I can say is I do not remember the name of your story, but I do remember the final battle of the two guys and their swords. And I liked your story. Otherwise, wouldn't have been in there.
Well, thank you.
All right.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. That was a while ago.
Well, we'll get to that question down the line, and I'll fill that in. There's a little bit I've got holding back for that. Go ahead.
All right. Well, let's get these started. Just for anyone new to the show, what I try to do is answer 24 questions in 42 minutes. It is not a cutoff. We just try to see how good we do. There's a little clock here. And then at the end, David will get to tell us 3 C's about his writing. And he's got all the time in the world there. But let us start this clock. All right. Question number 1. What color do you write in?
All right. I love this question. I really do, because I imagine, and so I write in every sense. And my primarily, I'm an ears guy. I hear what I read. Everything, sound means a lot to me. I get overwhelmed by sound really easily. Okay. So when you're asking me about colors, when I learned about cognitive modalities, okay, big fancy term, look it up. I found that I was really weak in visual. Huh. That was back in grad school. And I paid a lot of attention to that when I was a writing tutor in grad school. And so I have spent 23, 25 years working on becoming a more visual person, a more visual communicator, and a more visual writer. So the answer to your question is I write in a full array of jewel colors.
Awesome.
With a whole lot of spillage of crimson and rust.
Yep. I've been waiting for this answer. Baby. I have been waiting for this. Thank you. I'm sorry, I was looking around because I have a lamp behind me here. It's not on, but suddenly its shade keeps showing up like a ghost here. It's never done that in any episode. I don't know what's doing it.
Maybe it's that last
color
update.
Yeah, I don't know.
Last software update.
You were bringing the lights out. How's that? City or country kid? Where did you grow up and play out all your fantastical adventures? And did you have anyone you played with?
Well, I had people that played with me more often than not. I was the smallest kid. When I was very young, there were 5 kids in the family. I was the smallest and the youngest, but I wasn't the dumbest. And I made life a lot of fun for them, and they didn't make it fun for me. But we started out in the country, went from small town to small town. So overall, I'd have to say small town. And I'm not much of a city person. I have a touch of social anxiety, like a crushing weight. And so cities just don't do a lot for me. The last time I was in the city, I went to a football game, my first NFL football game, last year's Battle of Ohio.
Okay.
Not a fan of cities. I don't have anything against them. They just they overwhelm me.
It is a lot of humanity. Yep. All right.
A lot of noise. It's the noise that gets me.
And the constants. Everything's constant. Flashing, moving. Yep.
I work in a car factory. Everything there flashes, moves, honks, whines, makes all kinds of noise. I wear earplugs at work, but you can still hear it.
Yep. Huh. All right. Did you have anyone you hung out with, or were you off by yourself?
Well, in junior high, I met a guy named Ron, and we hung out for a lot of years. And we talked a lot of trash. But we were both avid sci-fi fantasy readers,
Oh, good. Okay.
and we would we didn't necessarily play that much, but man, we made a lot of D&D campaigns,
Okay.
a lot of them, and there was some hilarious stuff in there that I'm not going to go into, but I have a little bit of aphasia now and again, and I can still recall some very embarrassing moments when I was trying to use a word that I knew the word, and I knew the word that I didn't want to use, but I used the one I didn't want to use. We're going through the dungeon, and I'm like, the floor's. He's like, you mean this? And I'm like, so, but yeah, we hung out a lot. Then I didn't really have a lot of people I hung out with after that until I joined a group of poets in the late 90s in Springfield, Illinois. And that's what eventually led me to meeting Dan Blackston, who is a terrific poet.
You mentioned that a little bit in that essay. You and I each did an essay for Deuce over at the DMR blog. You, the history.
I didn't know I was
Pitchford.
writing an essay. I got to be frank with you. I was having a conversation, man.
Oh, it was awesome. Yes, no, it was great, and I'm glad you went first because I tried to mimic you with mine.
Well, hey, that's an editor thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you want to match the things up, right. So you write kind of complimentary to the people in your anthem.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well done.
All right. Hey, if you could follow the yellow brick road, would you?
Only to steal.
Oh.
Then I go back and build my own yellow brick road. Because that's what writers do, man. That's what we do.
Pick out the good parts.
Well, but here's the thing: good writers do it judiciously. And this whole thing about AI right now, I'm not going to go into it much. I'm just going to say, theft is what art is about. It's about mimicry. It's about judicious imitation of everything.
True.
Other art, nature, life, humanity, everything. AI is not going to learn for quite a while to have that judicious thing that we sloppy wetware AIs have.
That is a good point. Pointing it out. Yep. All right. This might be an interesting answer from you. So when you do get a chance to write, what assails your ears?
I am all over the place.
Okay.
Sometimes it depends on the scene I'm writing. I don't want to be listening to the Little River Band when swords are flashing. It might be Nickelback. It might be Van Halen, Van Hagar, Led Zeppelin, Nickelback. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that in quite that tone. It's and sometimes what I've been doing for the last couple of years that I wasn't doing before is when I binge something like, say, Peaky Blinders, and they've got really hot tracks on there.
They do.
I look those tracks up and throw them on my Amazon list, and those are with me.
That's a cool idea. Yeah. Yep.
And so, yeah. And sometimes it's jazz when there's not a whole lot going on, that it's kind of in world building mode, but can't be dull.
Yeah. Do you react? Do you respond to it then?
I'll tell you, if you ever read one of my novel manuscripts, uh, it's going to be like you're going to find song lyrics in there somewhere. You're just going to.
Right. Yep.
And I hope that when I edited, I became aware, or I was already aware, because a lot of times I do it on purpose.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, my guy is in this world, but he's from Utah, my main character. And he has a habit of saying, well, close enough for rock and roll. So you'll have that line, but he's also he's a logger. He was a logger at one time up around Canada. So he'll throw out a line from Nickelback, Guess Who, anybody.
I'm guessing that world isn't the current world then.
Yeah, this is the current world. Yeah,
Oh,
Wizards brought him in and said, "You're going to be our hero of the age," and he's like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And then they got attacked, and nobody told him, so he just kind of wandering around, going, "Kind of know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't see how I'm supposed to do it."
A little bit of Connecticut Yankee.
A little bit of that. A little bit of My Side of the Mountain, and a little bit of just because I have a tendency to have kind of thick, chewy writing. Maybe echoes of Thomas Covenant.
Okay. All right.
But he's nothing like Covenant.
He's not Covenant. I work at a
Covenant.
I work at a bookstore a couple days a week, and for the first time in 2 years that I've been there, somebody just asked me yesterday if we had any. They said anything by the guy who wrote Thomas Covenant, and I'm like, oh, Donaldson over here, and they're like, oh, you remembered his name? I'm like, yeah, it's sort of big, but.
Yeah, he is. I'm not going to say he's my favorite writer. I'm going to say that he is my favorite challenge to read.
Oh, okay.
And part of that is that he dwells too much on weakness and perfidy.
Okay.
He just does. His characters are all just trash.
Yeah. Yep.
I would love to take my heroes in and kill all his. Because they're worthless. Like, sit down. Let me show you how it's done, son.
All right, I like that. We might get back to this on some of these future questions.
But his vocabulary, man. I mean, his vocabulary. I have never read one of his books without being sent beyond my Merriam-Webster collegiate dictionary, which is always at hand.
I'm not well read. I did not read Thomas Covenant. I read his short stories, Donaldson's short stories. But I will say I should, because my favorite author is Stephen Erickson, and he attributes his writing career to Glenn Cook and Stephen Donaldson. Those are his two inspirations and ideals.
I know Glenn Cook, but I can't think of a thing he wrote.
Black Company is his most famous.
Thank you. Yep. Okay.
Yep. And Dread Empire, and then I haven't read the P.I. Garrett ones, but his I don't know, Private Eye, Fantasy World. So
that's another thing I have to say. I try to put a little bit of Raymond Carver.
Yeah, good.
And Dennis Lehane in my writing, because I want a little bit of mystery, but I want straightforward and moving.
Yeah,
and I want motion. And the first novel, I think I kind of failed for too much world building to get exactly where I wanted to be, but it's necessary for the next. I've already got the next 3 drafted.
Okay. All right.
but
we'll get to that. Don't answer that one right
okay,
now. We'll
go
get
ahead.
to that one.
Go ahead.
All right, change the topic. Your 3 favorite books as a child, pre-16.
Pre-16.
Yes.
I thought it was 18 before we changed the. We changed the. Okay.
I'll
All
let
right.
I'll let you slide.
Pre-16. I've got to tell you what really got me started. I loved C.S. Lewis, Narnia Chronicles when I was 10.
Okay.
But going from junior high into high school, I got stuck on ERB, Martian Tales.
Yep.
Okay, John Carter. You cannot do better than that. I enjoyed his Venus series as well.
I like Carson a lot.
I never actually read Tarzan. I tried a couple of times and I just wanted John Carter back. and also by that time I got mono at some point, I think when I was 15. And that's when I was out of my own books, so I went to my brother's bookcase. He's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
And I just couldn't get into Frank Herbert at that time in my life. So I've read about 20 pages into Covenant, and I threw that book across the room, left it in the corner, and sulked for about an hour and a half. And then I'm like, well, there's nothing else to read. So I went and got my Bible, and I read some Bible. And I said, I'm not in the mood for that. So I went back to Covenant, and I finished it. And about 5 minutes after I finished it, I remember this. I had a bowl of vanilla ice cream with brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts. And then I went right back. I grabbed Ill Earth Stone, and I said, I'm going to read some more of this. And I was hooked. I've read every one of the Thomas Covenant. I know a lot of people just cannot get through it all. But, and part of that is, and this is something I'm going to be guilty of. I'm sorry. I'm going to send you to the dictionary. I don't mean to. I've just got I've got the vocabulary I've got. And coming from poetry, precision.
Yes.
Precision is very important. I'm trying to use precise words.
Yep.
Thankfully, I've learned that editing my own stuff is just silly. I mean, only me editing my stuff.
Yep.
Cognitive dissonance is a thing, man. And it's like the biggest thing for writers. You've got to have somebody else's eyes on your manuscript. You've got to.
Yes, agreed. At the very least, you got to read it out loud too.
You know what you meant to put there.
Yep.
You know what's supposed to be there. And your brain will tell you that you're reading what you know is there. And it's not there, buddy.
Not there.
It's not. I'm sorry.
So true.
And you send that to a professional editor and you come back and you're like,
where'd that come from?
Look, no. It's quite an experience that first time you get manuscript back from a professional editor.
Yep. I like knowing when a writer like yourself is a poet, in addition to sending me sword and sorcery or heroic fantasy, whatever it is my call is for, because not that every writer doesn't intentionally choose a word, and maybe this was a subconscious till you just pointed it out, but I know when I am going through a known to me poet's story, words that stand out were chosen intentionally. Words that could have been a different word were chosen intentionally. And I love playing with that, actually. And I love, one of my creeds has always been when I make a suggestion or a tweak and the writer sends it back to me, if they articulate that poetic license that they were pursuing or the reason that they use that word and it clicks, I never change that. I always flow with that. I love being able to do that too, because that's to me a poetry influenced story is a mental image. It's a picture, and the way the words are chosen, the way commas, sentences are structured, paragraphs, short, long. It's part of the picture, and it's part of the story. So anyway, got off of me a little bit there.
Yeah. One of the more interesting things I've had a beta reader tell me was that I'm disallowed henceforth to use the word puissance.
Did you use it too much or
puissance? Well, the thing is, the book I'm working on, my work in progress, the first novel I intend to publish, is third person, limited, omniscient, filtered through the protag's consciousness.
Okay.
Puissance to him is a more nuanced word than merely power.
Okay.
And so it's deliberate, but it's going to be lost on a lot of readers. I understand that. I haven't decided yet if I'm okay with it, but I understand it.
There's got to be ways. I mean, a blunt hammer way would be just to have somebody finally cock their head and say, "Why do you keep using that word?"
Well, it's mostly in the narrative because he's actually
well, he
speaking
could ask
in different
himself
language. I mean, almost everything quoted in the story is actually almost everything is translated from the language they're speaking there, but
okay.
And there's of course magic involved in that.
Yeah.
But
all right. What's the best
moving
thing
on.
you have ever spent money on in your writing career?
Tanking a publishing business.
Okay. I bet I'll never get that answer again.
Yeah, it's going to be a rare bird that brags about that. But let me tell you, man, that was such a learning experience. I mean, you know what it is. You fought through and became successful. We had some successful projects, but overall, nah, we failed. We tanked. And I learned a lot about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, from that, about being a writer, about being an editor, about being a guy who does layout.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say a publisher anymore, per se. Kind of uncomfortable with putting that to me. I just don't have any business acumen.
Yeah.
But I can build technical acumen very quickly.
Okay.
I'm good at picking up skills, and then I'm good at forgetting them and picking up different skills. That's I'm pretty good at building cars now, but
yeah, it was always a challenge when I was able to keep a 1 book a year schedule. That 11 months in between layout and formatting and all that, you forget all that stuff because you don't do it regularly. And then technology changed. Oh man, no, I'm with you there.
I actually, while we were doing the other things, we had, I don't know if you knew about it, but we did have a quarterly magazine.
Yeah.
So I was doing at least 3 publications a year. That last year the last thing we did for Prism Quarterly was a double issue, and I'm pretty proud of that volume still. But okay, moving on along.
Yep. Hey, I love that we created in that time on SF Reader. Remember creating diminuendos?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were a
Diminuendos.
blast. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, with Crystal Wizard.
Yep. Yep. It was a new version of poem. All right. Do you think it makes your writing more difficult or somewhat easier if you feel emotions strongly?
I write with the philosophy that if it doesn't move you, it's not going to move the reader. So if you're not moved, you're not writing it correctly.
Okay.
It's not dramatic enough if you're not moved.
Gotcha. Yep.
So yeah, I've wept for days after certain scenes.
That's powerful.
And I have laughed for weeks after a couple of scenes and quoted my characters. They surprise me all the time. I love it.
Awesome.
I love it when they crack a joke and I'm like, ah!
That's great.
You know, but man, characters, if you get to the point where they've got a life of their own, they will surprise you. They will waylay you. They will. And when I first started editing the work in progress that I'm talking about, what the hero seeks. I had when was it? I drafted that. The original draft was 8 years ago, I think,
Okay.
7 or 8 years ago, and I started sometime last year to do it. He informed me that he wasn't going to be cussing or he was leaving the project. And then, so I had a long discussion with him at work one day while building cars because my hands know what to do while my brain's like,
yeah,
right there. That's where my brain is when I'm building cars. Don't buy a Camry. Do buy a Camry, please. Keep us in business.
yeah.
But I went through and took all the cuss words out up to a certain point.
Yeah.
And then there's some surprises that change his personality a little bit.
Okay.
Down the line, he's going to cuss like a sailor.
Well, I hope to see this, David. I hope to see this someday.
Thanks.
All right, here's one of my new questions.
I'll be happy to send you the current draft before I send it to Len Perry, who is going to be the next the line editor.
Ah, okay. Good call.
For the final. Yeah, I've got to make a couple of tweaks and then it's going to Len.
All right. I'm trying to get in his Swords and Heroes. He's rejected me twice, and now he's rereading a story under second consideration. We'll see. Anyway. What was your favorite cartoon and when, or if you still watch it, what is it?
Oh, my favorite cartoon.
Yeah.
Wow, I was not that much into cartoons. I really wasn't. I liked Tarzan. Mangane. Most of the time I was reading or configuring a D&D campaign.
Okay.
I never got into He-Man. I didn't like the animation. I thought it was just I like better artwork. Yeah, and then when I grew up a little bit, I really did enjoy Fritz the Cat, but yeah, and the movie Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
The original Heavy Metal. Oh man, yeah. And there was an animated version of Lord of the Rings at one point.
Right.
That was pretty interesting. Where there's a whip, there is a way. that was.
I remember that and Watership Down.
Oh my God! I just watched that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. It still creeps me to the bone, man.
Right. Yep.
Oh, Watership Down. It's great, but man, it just freaks me out. I don't know why violent rabbits creep me out, but they do.
Yep.
They ought to make me laugh because of Monty Python, but
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that the atmospheric effect of that cartoon, the moving oil screen, practically oil or
Yeah.
watercolor. I mean, yeah, it's just like wow. All right, titles. Do you find them challenging, and when do they come to you? Right away after it's all done? Do you tweak them?
I have to say that titles for poems are much, much easier than titles for books or anthos
Okay.
or compilations. Um, I have changed What the Hero Seeks. I've changed that title like 4 or 5 times. I think this one, I don't know. I'd love your opinion on that title, What the Hero Seeks.
I like it, but I think it's going to be really influenced by your cover art because it's going to really show me or make me think what the answer is or imply the direction it's going.
I'll send you, I'll send you an image.
Okay.
You'll be the third person on the planet to see it.
All right. All right.
Okay. After we're done here.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. We just hit 30 minutes and we are only hitting question 10, so we're getting a little long winded.
Okay.
All
Let's
right.
motor on.
So, projects, and they're going to be different since you write in so many smorgasbords, but you already hinted to this. What's a timeline like on one of your projects from idea to submission?
It's totally open. It just is. I don't submit anything right now.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get back into that, but currently I'm just planning on self-publishing. And the reason for that is that I'd rather spend the time writing,
Yep.
and I'm not going to get clogged up with that. And if I miss some audience that out there because of that, well, that's just the way the chips fall.
I don't think there's any drawback to the self-publishing world. The challenge is getting exposure, and that's where that business acumen comes in. And you spend half your time marketing and being social, trying to get that magic word viral. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're all done writing for the day. Are you exhausted, ready for a hot bath and a nice drink, or are you ready to rumble and get out?
Situationally, either one.
Okay.
Most of the time, if it's poetry, it's probably been a short bout. I'm ready to rock and roll. If it's fiction, I probably had 6 hours of hardcore fingers on the keyboard, moving back and forth, trying to keep my shoulders from cramping up, and taking occasional walks. And yeah, I'm usually pretty wiped out by fiction.
I can see that
because I run to exhaustion.
Okay.
Because I run to exhaustion. If I'm moving, I march till you die, baby. March till you die.
So no time limit, no word limit. It's just until you're exhausted.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Until you're exhausted, either to the point that your brain says, "Nah, we're done." I hate when he does that. But sometimes it's physical exhaustion just because you've been at the keyboard.
Right.
And there's a big difference between 40 years old and 55.
How about emotional exhaustion? Because this is what I wanted to circle back to on poetry. When you said that's not so challenging, I would find
I do not allow.
Okay.
I do not allow emotional exhaustion. I don't permit myself the luxury of it.
Okay.
And to some extent, I believe that is the place of the writer.
Okay.
To step up and take it. Well, not exactly in control. I just think it's our place to, even in imagination, observe it to the utmost and describe it as we go along.
Okay.
And we can't excuse ourselves with normal human frailty.
Yeah.
We've got to be the heroes we're writing, at least for long enough to get the scene done.
Yep. Very true.
Once that scene done, once we're to a place of semi-closure, then you can walk away.
Now, I learned one of the few things that has really impacted my writing life is Stephen King's On Writing memoir, where he made a comment. He always gets up mid-sentence so that when he sits down next, he just continues the thought he had and keeps rolling. And I adopted that, and I love that. It works extremely well for me. So I don't write till I'm out of an idea, because then on the next day I tread water as I'm trying to build back up. So I like that it's different for everyone, that you can totally go to exhaustion and empty yourself.
I tried that, and in a lot of circumstances, that's a great strategy. It really is. But because I'm a binge writer, if I'm binge writing, I got to get to a place of closure, or I'm neurodivergent.
Okay.
ADD, maybe autism somewhere, I don't know, but I'm definitely neurodivergent, and I cannot walk away without some sort of ending.
Sure.
If I do walk away, I've got to go back and erase and start over.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so, but if I'm talking about something that's not charged, if I'm just going through something kind of routine, I mean, it's always got to be a little more than routine to keep the drama. But if I do that, I can stop mid-sentence, walk away, come back, boom, just exactly like that.
Okay.
But if I'm in the middle of, say, if I'm in the middle of a battle, I can't quit in the middle of a battle and pick it up tomorrow.
Got to see it through. I understand.
I got to see those suckers die.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do a show like this, because there's a zillion different ways to do it once you understand how to do this thing called writing. All right, let's see. So would you live in any of your worlds, like that one hanging on the wall behind you?
I would live in its predecessor, actually. I would go and live in this one, but I'd prefer its predecessor. And I wrote a trilogy 20 some years ago, called the Veil. It was the Veil then. It was basically the same map.
Okay.
But one of the things that happened in the third in the final book of that was this warrior princess who was supposed to she had these twin swords. One was called Spectra and one was called Phrygia or something like that. One was ice, one was full spectrum light. She was supposed to strike with one and then the other. She did it backwards. And when she did that, it split the universe, created this parallel world.
Interesting.
This parallel world is closer to George R.R. Martin. The other one's Harry Potter.
Okay.
So I'd rather live in Harry Potter land, where it's a lot safer. And but I know how to sneak firearms into this one.
Okay.
So I would do that. I just prefer to go into the other one.
I like it. I teach a writing class. It's character oriented, but if I invited you to come in and give one sentence piece of writing advice, it doesn't have to be character oriented, but what would you say to my audience?
I would tell them their teacher's crazy because nothing can be taught in one damn sentence.
Okay, piece of advice. How's that?
Very little. my advice, no man is an island.
Good point.
When the hands go up, I'll explain that to mean that nobody writes a book alone. Nobody.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't. It's. I've tried it, and I've tried it, and I've tried it, and I've tried it. I've got 11 books that are crap because I went alone. Get advice. Show it to somebody. Get other eyes on it.
Good call. Number 14. What is the most difficult thing you have ever written?
A resume. My CV.
For a job or for application, a submission, I mean?
Just overall.
Huh.
Part of it has to do with my peculiarities as a neurodivergent. As background to this, I'm going to tell you real quick. 1977, I was in a reading program at the public library. I was supposed to read how many of her books during the summer, and then at the end there was going to be an award for whoever read the most books, right? So I'm sitting there reading a book at the award ceremony, and they call up the runner-up, second place winner. She had over 100 books, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, you're a liar. Nobody can read 100 books in a summer. And then they called my name for the first prize. I had read 326 books or something like that. And part of it was that I at that point I had so many older siblings that I was way ahead of the curve on my reading comprehension. Okay. But I read a lot of stuff that was aimed at me because it was aimed at me. It was age appropriate, right, and like pictures. All I remember from that summer is I think I read Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Okay.
And then everything I could get on squids and scuba and all that stuff. And so ever since then, I've been really insecure about every accomplishment in my life. I'm like, imposter syndrome just crushes me. It crushes me. Okay. And I've got one online at Bitter Hermit on WordPress. The blog that I'm locked out of, I can't get back into it. The old one. And it just every time I start listing the things that I've done, I'm like, it amazes me, and I'm like, I can't have done that. Why do I think I did that? It's like, no, I did that. I was there. But especially from the late 90s into the 2000s, because when I was with Pitch Black, I was the president of a writers organization. I was writing tutor going to grad school. I was publisher, poetry editor, yep, blah, 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 all these things. And once you write that down, and put it on in black and white, it's like, man, yep, how can anybody do that?
Yeah. Yep. What time did I have? Yeah.
And the other thing with the resume is when I went to when I applied to Toyota, because I didn't have manufacturing experience per se, except for a couple of months working temp jobs, I had to list everything, my entire employment history.
Oh.
And so many of my former employers are out of business and can't be contacted. And I'm like, and I do not like resume puffing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that, that just put dishonest stuff in their resume. And so I'm really sensitive about it. And so when I look at mine, I'm like, that's bad fiction. Nobody can believe that.
It's the only time you get to toot your horn, though, so you are allowed to do that.
I'm not good at tooting my own horn. I'm better at tooting other people's horns. Look at this guy. This guy's fantastic.
Yes, that's a great answer. No one's given that one before.
That's a good skill to have as an editor.
Yeah.
As an editor especially an editor of anthologies.
Promoting other people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what it's about. Here's a fun one. Sporting choices. This is a new question. This is an either or. Swimming pool or shooting pool?
Shooting range.
Nope, that's coming.
I'll shoot pool before I get in the water pool. My wife's got a pool out back, but not my thing.
Tennis court or basketball court?
Tennis.
And finally, driving range or target range?
Target.
All right, there we go. Get a little athleticism in this. All right, your favorite quote. Will you share it? And who said it? There you go. Got it. You want me to say it? Okay, there it is.
We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. It's quoted from Anaïs Nin, or Anaïs Nin, if you pronounce it that way.
Story? Why does it matter to you?
Why does what matter to me?
The quote. Why is this your quote?
Oh, well, I picked this card up like at the cardologist, the card shop in Springfield, Illinois, during a break from we had a coffee clutch for writers, and we would do a lot of circle critiquing and share poems and stuff. And I used to be super conservative, super judgy, angry, mean, not a pleasant person.
Okay.
And at one point in my life, actually, I went down to check out a seminary school, and I saw all these kids in a coffee shop just running around with these highlighted Bibles, just beating each other over the heads with them. And I said, I don't think Jesus wants this, and I'm not going to participate. And so I decided at that point to become a poet.
Okay.
Instead of a preacher.
That's actually a really cool story. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just wow.
No, it's good. It's good, man. Because I honestly think I'm a better human being for it, and I think Jesus loves me more for who I am than who I would have been if I'd have stuck with that particular direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I wouldn't have been able to grow the way I have from there. I'm a lot more open-minded than a lot of people I grew up with,
and than you were as a youth.
Yeah, especially as I was as a youth. Yeah.
Here's our 10 words. I'm going to throw out a single word, and you give us a first reaction.
Okay.
Clue.
Less.
Quicksand.
$6 million man. I don't know why Steve Austin comes up, but
no. Envelope.
Late.
Irritation.
Ointment.
Apex.
Predator.
Beige.
Beige?
Yep.
The color of the universe, dude.
Snail.
Male.
Giddy.
Schoolgirl.
Dawn.
Run.
And Sonnet.
Sonnet?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Just for you.
Sonnet, I'm on it.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Do you read any nonfiction? And if so, anything you want to recommend or suggest?
I do, and I can't think of a thing. I read lots of nonfiction. Nonfiction is the one thing I can read electronically.
Okay.
I do not. I can't really get into fiction as a reader electronically. If I'm reading electronically, I've got to mark the hell out of it.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, why do you think it's different between? Why do you think it's different between fiction and nonfiction?
It's different parts of your brain that are processing.
Okay.
And a lot of it that has to do with age and reading glasses. Eye fatigue.
All right. The one thing that gets me on electronic reading, no matter fiction or nonfiction, is I fall for being surprised by the end more often than not. Because in holding a book, you can see how close you're getting to the end. In a digital, I don't pay any attention to that little line at the bottom that's moving along. So that I have been astounded several times, thinking there's at least 3 more chapters to go, and I turn it, and it's like, "How did you take this book?" And I'm like, "What? That was the end?"
Well, part of it too is I've always loved. I mean, because I did so much reading in libraries, I've always loved books for the smell, the texture,
Oh yeah,
the feel of them, the weight of them. My hands do not like grocery store, the mass market.
oh okay,
It's got to be 6x9, or I'm probably just going to skim it.
okay.
So anything I put out on my own is going to be a 6x9.
What do you think of that weird size that's taller than a mass market but still the same width? I don't know.
Oh, I hate those.
Yeah, what is that?
I hate those. They're just confusing. It's like, I'm not British. I don't do A4. I do a 5x7 notepad, buddy.
Yep. Okay, a visual artist or 2 or 3. I just want to know the visual artworks that move you.
Okay, I have to do 2.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I've got to tell you, if Wayland did it in the 80s, I read the book.
Okay.
That was a deciding factor on a whole lot of the reading I did.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Wayland covers, buddy.
Yep.
I mean, that's what got me into John Carter. That's what kept me into a lot of others.
Sweet.
But are you familiar with the phrase, the word ekphrasis? Ekphrasis? EKPHRI.
Yes.
SIS.
Yes.
Ekphrasis.
Yep.
It's art that imitates art to do a cooperative kind of piece. I did a project, and I had that book here, but I wrote sonnets on a bunch of paintings.
Okay.
And this started out as a gimmick to get people over to my blog, to be honest, putting up semi nudes or classy nudes, and then doing a poem about them.
Body poem.
Well, no, not necessarily. No, I've tried writing body and I can't do it. But I've got this chapbook and I intend to send it to you at some point. because I've got a couple different copies of it. But primarily, the guy I like best is named William Bouguereau.
Okay.
And it's a weird French spelling with Reaux at the end, Bouguereau. But he's just got this ambience to his work that is brighter and more celestial than Waterhouse. I love Waterhouse, but Bouguereau is the sky, Waterhouse is the water.
Okay.
Is the sea.
Interesting. I'm definitely going to look at the comparison of the two. All right. I like that. How do you go about giving depth to a character, and do you treat first, second, and third characters differently?
I think it's dangerous as a writer to approach them as anything other than full human beings.
Okay.
And that's what I really try to do. I mean, otherwise, they're wallflowers that you just throw a name out there and brief description. They're red shirts, man.
Yep.
They're just background. They're going to die. The Gorgon's going to kill them. I don't know. What you just, but if they're going to be a character and have any character, you've got to approach them as a full human being.
So how do you do that?
You attend to small details.
Okay.
Basically, you put just enough detail into them to make them as significant as they need to be for the story.
Sure.
And the more detail you put in, the more significant they're going to be.
And the more you can tie people's memories, people's own emotions to those details.
Right. And sometimes people are going to remember things that you don't really want them to remember, or they're going to pick a name. They're going to take a name from that and remember that name. And you're going to go, who was that? And then you're going to go through your manuscript and go, oh, okay, that guy. Well, what can we do with him later on,
Right.
So, yeah, you basically, they're people. And maybe in this book, they're a cameo. I mean, they're just a bit part, but they might also end up being a main character later on. So you just let them be who they are.
And if, like you said earlier, your characters and stories talk to you. So if they tell you they got a story to tell,
right? And your main characters, you've got to know which way they comb their hair.
Yep.
You've got to know if they pluck their eyebrows. You get to know everything.
How they react when the rain dumps on that hair.
But occasionally, you also want to be surprised. That way you can surprise your reader with a new little, oh, well, I didn't know that about him. But be prepared for your editor to go, why is this just coming out now?
Right.
Like, because it just came out now. Because this is the first situation it was relevant. Hello, were you reading?
It's totally in character. Speaking of characters, of your characters, who would you like to hang out with? Who would you like as a friend?
I have a secondary character, and I'm probably going to use him for bit pieces in flash fiction, to advertise myself in my blog.
Okay.
His name is Mayrd.
Okay.
He's a bard. And his name is Mayrd. It's a shit name. Mayrd. And he is actually, I have to do some research before I know, but he was plucked out of this world in our past, like way past.
Okay.
like way past. And he was actually a French jongleur who accidentally got into somebody's summoning or something, found his way in, but it has not been revealed yet in any of the manuscripts that I've written that he's actually from here.
Oh, all right. You heard it here first, folks.
But there are hints. There are hints.
All right. You better lay those because that editor will call it out when it happens.
Oh, that editor's not going to edit me again. I'm hopefully it'll work out for Lynn to edit me from here for a while.
Okay, good. Who writes the characters you most enjoy reading?
Oh man, you're asking me for some guilty pleasures here.
That's perfect.
I love Anita Blake, man.
Okay.
I love Anita Blake. I'm not really into the whole vampire thing, but I love Anita Blake, and I love Edward from the Anita Blake novels.
Okay, that's sweet.
I also most of the characters that Dennis Lehane has.
Okay.
Dennis Lehane, I love his writing, but he betrayed all his readers and went to television. He writes some damn good television right now. I was thrilled and disappointed to find that because it means I'm not going to have another, drink before the war or whatever.
Yep. He's going to be occupied. So if you could write anyone else's character from any medium, which character would you write?
I'm really uncomfortable with the idea of writing anyone else's character, but I wouldn't mind picking up either John Carter, Solomon Kane.
Oh, all right. It would be for, I'm asking this as fun, just pure pleasure, not, not to continue the estate or anything like that. Two unique characters. Last question, David. Are you trying to share anything with us in your writing through all of it, poetry and fiction?
I'm trying to share a lot of my views on life, and I'm trying to share over the scope of my poetry, especially. I'm trying to show the evolution from an overaged adolescent to a man of some years who has realized his mistakes and his regrets. But I'm also in my fiction, I'm if there's anything I really want to get across, it's the fact that we are not alone and we cannot be alone.
Okay.
That to be a man in full, to be the human beings we should be, we need each other.
And your dog. You are not a man alone.
Well, we need dogs.
Oh, we do.
Need
Yep.
yeah, or cats if you're a cat person.
Yep.
I'm not anti-cat anymore. I've broadened my mind. No, I'm fine with cats. I have been for a long time. I still like just throwing that barb over there. But yeah, that would be the thing, and that's something that I try to. I deal with a whole lot of touchy social issues in my later manuscripts. I haven't decided whether to take the trigger stuff out of there or leave it in and maybe put warnings in there or what.
Okay.
But I have everything that's come up in the last 8 years on social media has influenced it, and I've tried to process it through my fiction as well as through my everyday thinking.
Yeah, so exploring it all, but with that constant theme of can't be an island.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be, but you're going to be a miserable
Yeah.
island.
Yeah. Yep.
I've been there. I've been that island, and now I'm not, and I am a much better human being for it.
Excellent.
And my life is much fuller for it.
That I'm glad to hear that, because I know I've been peripheral witness to a few of your downs over the years, so I'm glad to hear that the ups are up. So. All right, on that note, our timeline is over, but now it's your opportunity to talk about
what we do. 62 minutes.
I am roughly guessing 55-ish. Yes. We explored some deeper topics, actually. So I appreciate that. This is your opportunity, though, to bring something to all the public's attention that you think of your writing as cold and needs a little love.
Well, nothing's available. So it's hard to do the cold thing. I've got a bunch of chapbooks, and if people message me, I will send them out for postage. And I've got the files, so I can recreate some of my that I would be happy to do for $1 profit.
Do you have? Can you send me a cover or anything, or a series of covers, or show us one?
Just real quick. Oh, here's a short story I did. Shattersword Core.
All right.
I want to revisit that at some point. That's somebody else's. I would love to get Prison Quarterly in other people's hands, but I'm kind of iffy about the rights, so I'm not going to offer those anymore. Deck of sonnets.
Oh,
there's 52 sonnets in here.
Nice touch.
Here we go. This is the one I would like to send you. I need your snail mail address. It's got a courtesy cover on it.
Okay. All right.
Because most of these are nudes. This is songs by Latter-day David or something like that. Latter-day Psalms. And come here. This was Bougereau. That's a safe enough one compared to Waterhouse.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's like more earthy. Is Waterhouse all darker?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
His darker and more fey.
Okay.
Let's see.
I liked what you said earlier, Celestial. About the other guy, about Bergeron.
Man, there's this. Yeah, I ran into some. I love those old paintings. I think this was my second chapbook of poems.
All right.
Nobody wants that. And then I've just. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. This is one of my later chapbooks.
Ambivalent?
Ambivalent, or am I?
Ah, okay.
My twist of humor.
How many do you think you put out or put together?
Here's one I was proud to be part of. This is obviously not mine.
I know someone who would buy that from you. How many of those do you
You
have?
pay a lot. Huh?
How many of those do you have?
As far as I know, this is the only one I have.
Woo, all right.
But I'm pretty sure I've got the publishing file. I could probably print out some more if Shrews wants some, but he'd have to sell them because it's his rights.
Yeah.
I mean, because the entity that actually published that is no longer extant.
Right.
I don't hold rights.
There's a Discord server called Whetstone. No, I'm sorry, that was the old one. This one's called Sword and Sorcery Tavern. Shrews is in there, and there's a gentleman who has tracked down everything Shrews is in because he loves his writing. And I've told him about that, but no one has a copy. I don't even have mine because I parted with it during a move.
I have parted with so much. Some of these I found at my parents' house.
Yeah.
When my mom died 4 years ago. I mean, a lot of them. And I was like, oh, cool. Oh, cool. Oh,
that
cool.
would be fun.
I was like, oh, sorry.
I'll tell Shrews to reach out to you about that if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
He can watch this.
Current.
He can watch this, and then he can get home.
That's true. He is hopefully on the agenda for next year. So, but current. Awesome. You've sort of told us that you've been working on this series, this novel.
Yeah, the first installment's going to be What the Hero Seeks.
Yep.
Second one is Path of the Strong. I'm that's a working title, of course.
Yep.
Third one, working title is Restoration. And then Drastin Moon, Drastyn. It's a species of dragon.
Okay.
And after that, Hero of the Age.
Dang, 5 books.
Got plans so far.
And you said 3 or 4 already drafted out?
I've drafted half of Drastin Moon, but I think I'm going to scrap the entire thing at this point. And that the entire draft, I'll probably use parts of it. But I got introduced to Save the Cat. Are you familiar with Save the Cat?
I'm going to say no.
Where'd you go? I just had it. Okay. I found this on Audible, actually. Somebody had mentioned it. A bunch of people had mentioned it.
No.
Save the Cat.
Okay.
This is the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need, according to Blake Snyder. Ran into the novel version. Save the Cat writes a novel on Audible, but I could not finish it because I didn't care for her voice or her snark.
Okay.
I found it really off-putting. And so then I got the original. It's a 9-point way of writing a novel that's supposed to be the best way, and Hollywood's supposedly doing this now
for their screen.
It's all for screenwriters. And
so would you recommend it or not? You're not sure yet?
I do recommend reading it. Okay. I also recommend against getting it on Audible. You'll waste your credit.
Okay.
I do a lot through Audible. I did the Dark Tower series through Audible.
Okay.
There's one book on there I can't do because Stephen did the audio for it, and you cannot listen to Stephen King for an hour. Reading his own, you can listen to him talk,
Yeah.
but reading his own writing, oh my God, it's horrible. And I really I've got this really nice, fancy microphone.
Yep.
And I'm planning on dabbling with some audio files.
Okay.
With at least with my poetry.
Okay.
I would love to do my own audiobooks, but I don't know that I'm gonna have the time to qualify for it. I might
Lots
eventually.
On your plate. Yeah. Okay.
But I've got a whole fabricated. I've been working on it for 22 years on this language called Giatravari, and I'm the only one that knows any of it. So there's a lot of unpronounceable crap in my book.
Okay.
So I'm probably the only one qualified to do it, even though I can't speak half the words I write.
Hey, man, there's a bunch of people running around speaking Tolkien's Elvish and Star Trek's Klingon now. You never know. In 40 years, they might be speaking that.
Well, that'd be a dream come true.
I'm going to say that's what's coming, too. I'm going to roll current and coming all into this big, giant project.
That's it.
Right.
My theory, that's what it's all about at this point.
And then you said earlier at the very beginning that there might be, in a year or so, another shot at self-publishing or publishing of some sort.
Well, yeah, I really want to do some more poetry compilations. I don't know if you've seen that blog, my Bitter Hermit blog, but back in 2012-ish, I did a 1,000-poem project. Okay. I finished that in 2014, maybe. And so I've got 1,000 poems that have never really seen the light of day. Maybe 100, maybe a couple, between 1 and 200 were on that blog. Yep. That blog's still out there as far as I know. You can just search Bitter Hermit on WordPress and find it.
I remember that. And then you made a duplicate, right? After you got locked out?
No, I just on my current blog, I put a link to it.
Okay.
I think a couple of permalinks to it.
All righty, Dave. We are going to call this. This has been quite thorough. I am totally appreciative of you spending your time letting us get to know your life, universe, and everything.
Oh, well, it's been great having a conversation with you. I am flattered as can be. You know, I like I said, got a little bit of imposter syndrome going on. It's like, why would you want to interview me? But thank you very much for the opportunity. And I'm looking forward to all your 24 and 42s.
Thank you, sir.
I have to truly express my gratefulness to David for sitting down and sharing his life, universe, and everything with me. It's not something he sought, and I appreciate his visit. Seriously, this videocast most likely would not be happening without David Pitchford's impact on my life 2 decades ago. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed learning some of this history scattered among bits of humor and advice delivered despite some technical difficulties. I, for one, especially enjoyed discovering Dave writes in all the colors. Thank you for spending time with us. Until next time, this was 24 in 42.